So we are live, and sorry, y'all, we're running a little bit late because of some technical problems, but we seem to have it figured out now. Um, I want to introduce everyone to NG. Yeah, NG, do you want to just tell them a little bit about who you are
Yeah,
and what
sure.
you do?
Yes. I'm a board certified internal medicine physician. I work as a hospitalist and an assistant professor of medicine with the Baylor College of Medicine here in Houston, Texas. I'm also an empowerment coach for women, happiness fulfillment coach. Yes.
Awesome. So great. So great to hear that. It's really good work, valuable work. So awesome. Well, we are going to today demonstrate live a technique called that we call the erase and replace technique, and other people refer to it as emotional freedom technique. Um, if we have a chance, we're going to get to tap on and to shift one of the issues that a lot of people struggle with, which is like fear of rejection or fear of failure when it comes to starting a new business. Um, and so I am not going to explain all the research behind this tool or go really in depth on the steps because I did that in a previous video. And so we're just going to basically jump right into it and get started. Um, so Angie, you shared with me right before we started that what's like a feeling or a fear that you wanted to get rid of?
Yes. Fear of failure.
Fear of failure. Okay. All right. So we're going to start there.
Okay.
Um, And let's see, I'm gonna write your statements down. I usually do that just to keep us on track. Um, so fear of failure. It's a common one. I've definitely had that one before too. Okay, so the first step to this process is to put words to the feeling, right? Is to describe. We're looking for here the emotional truth, what we call the emotional truth of the feeling, meaning how does your emotional brain or how does your body and your mind really feel? So we're going to come up with a statement. Let's do this too. How would you like to feel, Angie, instead of, if you feel like you're afraid of failure right now, how would you like to feel instead?
Oh, powerful.
Powerful. Okay. Okay, cool. So I like that word. I feel powerful. And anything else to add? Just powerful
Confident.
and confident. Okay. All right. So I feel powerful and confident. I like that. Is it about something about my business? About my what is it about?
My business.
Okay, so I feel powerful and confident about my business. I'm going to write that down. That's what we're going to shoot for today. We're going to see if you can get you to that feeling about my business. All right. So the very brief version of why I did that is there's something. We have a method called the free method, and the first step of that is to create a feeling goal, right? And so you want to determine how do I want to feel instead of how I'm feeling right now. And really it's best to write that down. And I've done that for you today, but that keeps us on track and make sure we know if we've achieved it, if you feel like that, or if there's still some more feelings that need to be shifted before you can feel like that. So,
Okay.
all right. So, um, let's go. So you said afraid of failure. So is the statement I'm afraid of failing in my business?
I'm afraid of failing. Yes, in my
Okay.
business.
Okay. So we'll start with that. Um, is there any other words you want to add to that or
Um,
language that feels more true?
let's see. Hmm. This is a word as against failure. Is that what you're looking for?
Anything else to add to the statement? Yeah, that I'm afraid of failing in my business
No, being good enough.
and not being good enough. Okay. All right.
Not showing up completely.
Not showing up completely.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Not showing up completely?
I mean, not like I'm afraid that I wouldn't be able to. How do I put it in? Like, give it 100%.
Give it your all. Give it 100%. Okay. Like there's like something holding you back, like a hesitation.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, and do you feel like that not showing up is because you're afraid of failing
Failing.
maybe and not being good enough? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start there. That's a great place to start.
Okay.
So we always put a number to this so we can check to see that the technique is working, right? So say this out loud for me, and then tell me the number that pops into your head from 1 to 10. Like what is the strength of it? So I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
7.
7. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So we're going to start, and let's see. I have my water. I just got out of another training before this, so it's going to be fun. All right. So we're going to start with this karate chop point.
Yeah.
Yep. Right here on the hand.
Do you want me to do this? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Just basically do exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay.
So even though I'm afraid of failing in my business,
Even
you
though
say that,
I'm afraid of failure in my business
and not being good enough,
and not being good enough,
I'm open to letting this fear go.
I'm very open to letting this fear go.
I'm really ready to let this fear go. Okay, good. Very good. All right. So now we're going to tap on this first eye point. It's right here, like you're going to follow the bony ridge around your eye. Yep, right there. So I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failure and not being good enough.
Good. Second point. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failure and not being good enough.
Yeah. Third eye point. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failure and not being good enough.
Good. All right. Underneath the nose. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failure and not being good enough.
All right. Good. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failure and not being good enough.
Yeah. I'm afraid, instead of saying of failure, say I'm afraid of failing. Yeah.
I'm afraid of failing.
Yeah. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough.
Yeah. Good. So the way we word things can be really important sometimes for this process. So when you say I'm afraid of failure, it's a little bit more of a abstract thing. When you say I'm afraid of failing, it's more about you failing, right? And so we don't do that to make her feel worse. We do that to make it closer to the feeling, right? The emotional truth of it. And usually the rule of thumb is the stronger the statement, that the better, right? The stronger you can make the statement, the better. All right, let's do another round of that tapping. So I'm afraid of failing.
I'm afraid of failing
and not being good enough.
enough.
Good. I'm afraid I'll fail and I won't be good enough.
I'm afraid I'll fail and not be good enough.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm afraid of failing in my business
I'm afraid of failing in my business
and not being good enough.
and not being good enough.
Good. All right. I'm really afraid of failing in my business
I'm really afraid of failing in my business
and not being good enough.
and not being good enough.
All right. I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
Good. So another point here. I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
Okay, let's pause there. Say it out loud again. I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
I'm afraid of failing in my business and not being good enough.
Okay, is that a 7?
7?
Yeah. What's the number?
6, I think.
6. It's gone down a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So usually the rule of thumb is we want it to go down 2 or 3 points. Sorry, I'm going to get on the screen. 2 or 3 points, at least before we continue moving on. So if it only goes down like a point or stays about the same, we usually alter the statement and there's some other aspect or some other way to word it. Okay. let me ask this. What would happen if you failed in your business?
I'll be disappointed.
Okay. You'd be disappointed
Yeah,
in yourself or
in myself.
uh do you feel like you would disappoint other people or just yourself?
Well, it's more of myself.
More yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
and I'll
what?
I'll probably be more scared of doing the next
The
taking another.
next
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right. That's good. So, how about I'm afraid of failing and disappointing and being disappointed and disappointing myself. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself. How strong is that feeling?
With now that we've put in the disappointment, I'll actually say an 8.
Okay. All right. So that's good. That's actually a good thing. We're getting at the truer, the truer feeling that's behind it by adding the disappointment in. Okay. Um, so that's an 8. So what we do is we pivot. We pivot into a new statement because the other one only shifted 1 point. So let's. Does that feel true to you that you're afraid of failing and disappointing yourself?
Yeah, and you know what? Now that you're saying it, I'm thinking if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to be disappointed in myself, I think I really want to prove. I would love to prove to my kids and my husband that I can, you know,
Mm.
do this.
Yeah.
Success for me is huge. So I think yes, that may it would make.
What's huge? You said
I said success for me.
success. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm sure that would probably push it to a 10.
Okay. Okay. So what aspect of it pushes it to the 10?
I mean,
Being,
just
and be,
my
being
family.
your
Yes.
family.
Hmm.
Okay. Good. So all right. So I'm afraid of let's come up with a statement, right? I'm afraid that's true to the feeling. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my family, or what? What's the feeling about the family?
So disappointed in myself and my loved ones
Okay. Okay.
because
I'm afraid of.
I feel like I owe it to my tribe, which is my family, close friends, that I can I'm a success.
Okay. I owe it to my tribe. I like that.
Yeah.
Does that word have an emotional meaning to you? A tribe? Okay.
Yes, it does.
You're from Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Family is big for us. We have a very strong family friend ties. Um,
Uh,
that's an environment I thrive in. So yes.
so you feel like there's a lot of pressure to be successful that you're putting on yourself.
Yes, I'm putting this on myself because
Right.
I'm a success as far as they're concerned, but I think I'm putting this on myself. Yes.
For sure. Okay. Um, so which word sounds better to you, feels better to you, your loved ones or your tribe or both?
Um, my loved ones.
Your loved ones. Okay. We can add in the tribe word some as we go too, because I like that. All right. So what number is that? I'm afraid of disappointing myself and my loved ones.
10.
10. Okay. Okay. Good. It's a strong feeling. When you hit on a 10, usually it's the right feeling because you can't go any higher than a 10.
Yeah.
So I've actually written 15 on some of those numbers when I was dealing with like PTSD, or I did this for myself with PTSD and stuff like that, but which I don't recommend people do. But anyways, all right. So even though I feel like afraid of failing
Even though I feel afraid of failing
and disappointing myself and my loved ones,
and disappointed in myself and my loved ones,
I'm open to letting this feeling go.
I'm open to letting this feeling go.
Cool. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
Yeah. The second eye point. Yeah. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
Okay, good. Underneath the eye, I'm afraid of failing
I'm afraid of failing
and I'm afraid of being a disappointment
and I'm afraid of being a disappointment
to myself
to myself
and to my loved ones.
and to my loved ones.
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Okay, good. This one, I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Um, how about this one? I owe it to my tribe to be successful.
I owe it to my tribe to be successful.
I need to be successful.
I need to be successful.
Okay. Let's go start. We'll do another round. So I feel a lot of pressure on myself
I put a lot of pressure on myself
to be successful.
to be successful,
And I'm really afraid of disappointing myself and my loved ones.
and I'm really afraid of disappointing myself and my loved ones.
Good. Second eye point. I'm really afraid of failing.
I'm really afraid of failing.
Yeah. Are you on the side of the eye, like right in the bone right there? There you go. Yeah. Okay.
I'm really afraid of failing.
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
I put a lot of pressure on myself to be successful.
I put a lot of pressure on myself to be successful.
If I fail, I'll let myself down
If I fail, I'll let myself down
and I'll disappoint my loved ones.
and I'll disappoint my loved ones.
I'm afraid of failing and not being good. Go ahead. And not being good enough
I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
and disappointing my loved ones.
and disappointing my loved ones.
Okay. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
and disappointing my loved ones.
and disappointing my loved ones.
Okay. So let's go to here. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
and disappointing my loved ones.
and disappointing my loved ones.
Okay. That time you said it, it sounded like a little more detached, like a little less. That last time, you're just like,
Because that was really what was on my mind. I was thinking, it doesn't matter.
okay.
And
So
I was saying to myself, it's okay if you fail. That was what was going through my head as I was saying it.
That's great. I noticed that in your energy in the last time, that's a sign that it's working, right? Because so it's cool, right? So quick teaching moment. So what often happens with EFT and with tapping is when you start to bring the feeling down, what's called cognitive restructuring happens, which means your emotional brain just starts to see it differently. It starts to see the situation like, oh, that's silly, like that's not going to happen, or that's not a big deal.
I was just like, you're a success. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter. It's okay.
Okay, good. Awesome. So that's already starting to shift. What's your feeling at now? If we were to say, I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
5 came to my head.
Wow. Okay. So you went from a 10 to a 5?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely a successful round. That's good. Cool. Well, let's see if we can get that to a 0.
Okay.
So even though I still have some of this feeling that I'm afraid of failing,
Even though I still have some of this feeling that I'm afraid of failing
and disappointing myself
and disappointing myself
and my loved ones,
and my loved ones,
I'm open to letting this feeling go.
I'm open to letting this feeling go.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to do like a little bit of an advanced. No, I'll save that for next. All right. Let's just keep it simple for here. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Good. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself.
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself.
Yeah. And my loved ones. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm
I'm really afraid of failing
really afraid of failing
and disappointing everyone I love
and disappointing everyone I love
and disappointing myself.
and disappointing myself.
Yeah. Good. I really want to be successful.
I really want to be successful,
And I feel a lot of pressure on that.
and I feel a lot of pressure from that.
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones.
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved one.
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm really afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Okay. Let's do another round of that. So I'm afraid of failing
I'm afraid of failing
and disappointing myself
and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Good. I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
I'm afraid of failing and not being good enough
and disappointing myself
and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Good. I'm afraid of failing
I'm afraid of failing
and I really don't want to disappoint myself
and I really don't want to disappoint myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Okay, good. I'm afraid of failing
I'm afraid of failing
and disappointing myself
and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
Okay. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself
and my loved ones.
and my loved ones.
I really feel a lot of pressure to succeed.
I really feel a lot of pressure to succeed.
Okay. All right. So let's check back in. I'm afraid of failing and disappointing myself and my loved ones. How strong is that?
I don't believe that.
Okay. Like you don't have it anymore.
I don't actually. No, I don't. I
Cool.
don't.
Cool.
I don't.
Awesome. Okay. Is there a new perspective? Let me turn my fan on. It's hot in here. All right. Sorry. Whew. There we go. Summer's starting to come into Georgia. So yeah, is there a new feeling or a new perspective that you have?
You know what? Actually, I know. I don't know. It's just like I feel. I almost don't want to use that word I said in the beginning, but I feel so confident.
Okay. Already
Yes,
you're there.
yes, I do.
Okay.
Like
It didn't take
I,
very long to,
I had a couple of things I was thinking I needed to do
yeah.
before we came on. Like I have been planning it, and just as we were going through all that, and in my head, I'm like, I almost wanted to say, Josh, I really don't need this anymore. Can we
Mm.
stop? Because I feel like I
It's
got
happened.
this.
With
Yes,
it, you just were like, I'm already there. Like I'm good.
yeah, I don't need this. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Sorry.
awesome. Oh, no worries. Okay. Cool. Well, that's exciting. Okay. So let's do this.
Yes.
You're at a 0 for that, right?
Mhm.
So let's say this out loud. This statement: I feel powerful and confident about my business.
I feel powerful and confident about my business.
Okay. How true does that feel?
Very true.
Really?
Like a 10.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
I am more than enough. I am more than enough for my business.
You're more than enough for your business. Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely. Well, look, you're a doctor, right? You're a trained physician.
yes, I am.
If you can make it through all of that training and all that, practice, so this is a huge amount of effort. You can do
Yes,
this, right? I mean, you can
yes,
do your business for sure. You got the persistence and the tenacity, it sounds like.
yes.
Cool. Well, do you feel like a need to tap on anything else or do you feel good?
Well, I actually do feel good. Like I'm ready to
Okay.
go.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. We'll just have this. Yeah. Good.